Well, basically what I told the guys was that for Chris and Kyle, it was like preparing for the Olympics, and you just work so hard every single day, gave such extraordinary effort, and then at the end you're on the podium and they're playing somebody else's national anthem, but you have a bronze medal around your neck. And they do. These guys, when I compared them a few weeks ago to the '87 Providence team, it was in terms of effort and attitude, and they've made me really, really proud. They battled a great team tonight, and we just needed a lot of things to go right down the stretch. We just screwed up a little bit on our offensive execution in the beginning because we were running pick and rolls with the 4, and we were supposed to seal Anthony Davis, and we did at the end of the game, and that's when we made our run. And then we had a little bit of a mishap with Shane not coming up to screen Peyton Seaver, and he shot the air ball. But outside of that, these guys played their hearts out. Kentucky's a great basketball team with great effort, and these two guys leave us with a Final Four. Another banner goes up in the Louisville gym, and they're always going to be remembered for that.
If you have a question, please raise your hand and let a microphone holder get to you, and we'll get started with questions. Over here in the left-hand section on the aisle.
Coach Pitino, Mark James, 610, The Fan, CBS Radio in Charlotte. If Kentucky finishes the job Monday night, how will this team compare to the team that you won the national championship with in 1996?
Who did you want to answer that?
Coach Pitino.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Do you think these guys can answer that question?
Just making sure.
Kyle, what do you think of that team?
Well,
Every team's different. We had an average margin of victory in the SEC by 28, and we had very few close games in basketball. We were a very deep team, much deeper than this team. But their 6 are every bit as good as our 6. So you can't really compare eras. I will say this, that Anthony Davis is as fine a basketball player as there is. And they have a great basketball team, one that I know John is really proud of. And to tell you the truth, I haven't always liked some of the Kentucky teams. I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't always liked, but I really like this team a lot because of their attitude and the way they play. And I'll certainly be rooting for them hard to bring the trophy back to Kentucky because I'm really impressed with them, not only as basketball players, the way they carry themselves, their attitude. And they're a great group of guys and doing a tremendous job. So Louisville will be rooting for Kentucky, which doesn't happen very often, to bring home that trophy to the state.
Middle section toward the middle.
Myron Metcalf at ESPN.com. This is for Coach Pitino and Kyle. Obviously a disappointment tonight, but how do you look at the overall season, especially everything this team had to overcome with the injuries and the struggles down the stretch of the Big East regular season?
Coach?
Anytime you don't win a national championship and you're playing for one, it's disappointing. But, you know, you go home with a bronze medal around your neck, it's not disappointing. I told the guys, I said, look, I'm going to Miami tomorrow, and I'm celebrating a season where we worked around the clock, around injuries and everything else. If you guys don't celebrate and have good, clean fun, you're fools. Because I think there's only been 8 teams that got to a Final Four in the history of one of the greatest traditions, and they did it. So they're going to celebrate. Kyle will celebrate a little more low-key than Chris will, but they're going to celebrate.
Kyle?
like Coach said, just proud of the team. Had a lot of highs and lows throughout the season, and just the way everybody came together and the effort that they gave. Just real proud of being on this team and of everybody that I play with.
Third row here down front.
Rick, hi. Steve Politi from the Star Ledger, New Jersey. What impressed you the most about what Anthony Davis did tonight?
Well, he made the whole team, forgetting about the dunks at the end because we were desperate. But what I was impressed with, we took away the 3. What I was impressed with is the way they make 8 to 15-foot shots. That's very impressive. And, you know, anytime you don't know whether a team's better offensively or defensively, you know you got a great basketball team. So Anthony Davis is very impressive because he alters. His length is incredible. Not till the end did Gorky finally block him out from becoming the shot block, and that's what you have to do with him. You've got to block him out to keep him away from the basket.
Second row here down front.
Greg Logan, Newsday for Rick. Did you feel when it got to 49 all and you were getting all those offensive rebounds that you were starting to win the physical battle?
Yeah, we came up a little short on one run. We had an open shot for Kyle. We didn't get it. We made a couple of offensive. This team is not we've never been a great shooting team. So to get to a Final Four, now I've always felt, in 2005, we got it with Taekwon Dean and I almost said Pop Lewis, Taekwon Dean and Francisco Garcia and Larry O'Bannon. All three guys could knock down the shots. These two guys can knock it down, but this wasn't a team of great shooters. They had to win with confusing opponents and just old-fashioned hustle and effort. And they got to a Final Four by doing that, and that's what's great. And we're only going to get better, as you saw just a glimpse of Wayne Blackshear, who's coming off double shoulder surgery.
2 questions on the 4th row here.
Simi Rieger, Tel Aviv, Israel, Channel 5. What did you think was the most important thing to stop Kentucky from doing to beat them, and what did you do to nullify them doing it?
Well, we knew we were going to play like starving dogs on the glass. That's what we said. We said, we haven't eaten in a week, and the only food for us is the rebound. We had a very difficult time early. The game early when we got behind really hurt us. It took so much incredible energy to get us back in the game, and they gave it. And our conditioning, I think, was awesome the whole year. And the difference is, quite frankly, just Anthony Davis is just the #1 player picked in the draft. When you're playing against Bill Russell at the pro level, you realize why Celtics won 11 world championships. When you see this young man at the collegiate level, you realize why they're so good. Not that their other players aren't, but he's so much of a factor.
I think we have another question on the 4th row.
Adam Zagoria from SNY. For Chris and Kyle, could you guys just talk about Anthony Davis a little bit and how he alters the game when you're trying to take the ball to the basket, and how hard does he make it for you guys to score?
Chris, you want to start?
Well, Anthony Davis, he's a great player. He controls pretty much just changing every shot. Everything we, try to get close into him, and he's just so well. I would say he has good footwork, so, he just kind of just falls back a little bit and times the shot pretty well.
Kyle?
He just has great length, so he's able to alter shots like everybody's been saying. So it's difficult for, our guards like Peyton and Russ to get in and get a clean look like they usually do.
Let's go on the left-hand side of the center section.
Eric Crawford from the Courier-Journal in Louisville. Rick, I wanted to ask what you told a couple people, what you said to Coach Calipari right after the game when you shook hands. Looked like maybe you told him to bring it home, and then what maybe you said to Peyton and Gorgie to kind of settle them down during the game.
I just said, John, I'll be pulling for you. Bring the trophy home back to Kentucky. Really impressed with what he's done, and love to see Kentucky bring it home. I think there's, sometimes there's a lot of talk about, you see those guys fighting in dialysis. There's also really a lot of people that get along. I was on the bus and I was talking about mixed marriages. A lot of Kentucky and Louisville fans really get along and really appreciate everything. Then in every society there are people without brains, but for those that have brains, they get along and they root for each other, and we root for Murray and Weston, and we've got a lot of great. So we're all going to root for Kentucky. We like their basketball team. We hope they bring it home to the state.
Center section on about the 6th row.
Rick Cristomino with 7 out of the zone in Atlanta. I'm not saying you needed it, but a run like the Big East tournament and this, is there an actual reinvigoration and maybe just the idea that what it is you put into play with your staff and the players that you recruited sort of kind of get you more pumped even than maybe you've been at times?
I think so. I think that, I marvel at what John does. I couldn't do it. I can't say hello and goodbye in 7 months. It's just not me. I love getting to know Kyle Keurig and Chris Smith. I feel like they're my children now. I feel like they're part of my life. Not that he doesn't feel that way about his guys, but I like to see people grow. This young man came in without a scholarship. Then he gets a scholarship and he grows. He's probably going to he met his future wife. I get to know his parents. I got to know his girlfriend. Chris, I wanted him to cut down the net badly because he's always been JR's little brother, and he needs to get the spotlight because he was a big part of this. So I like that emotional attachment of the players. I'm just not, every person's different. I marvel at what they can do with that. I could never do it because I just emotionally get too attached to these guys, and I want to see them grow as people. Not that he doesn't, I'm sure he does.
Down front in the third row.
Kyle and Chris, as Noah Kozlov, Cinesport, as emotional as this game was, do you think you ever go back and watch the film of this one?
Kyle?
Yeah, probably a couple of times, just go over the last game and just kind of see what happened and just rewatch it.
Maybe a few times, but you don't want to dwell on the past. Really, we just want to try to get prepared for your futures. Really, but they got a great basketball team coming back.
Fourth row down front.
This is for Chris. Chris, if you can freeze the moment in time of when you guys tied it at 49-49, what did you think was going to happen the rest of the way, and what would you think was happening back home?
I feel, the rest of the way, I thought, we were going to win. Everybody thought we were going to win the whole game, on the team. That's because we had confidence. But if we could go back, I would say maybe change a couple plays, but it's too bad we can't.
On the aisle toward the back.
Jim Militello from Associated Press. Just Chris and Kyle, can you give us your reaction to the way you guys played out there, the result, the way it came up short, and just the kind of effort that you guys put into trying to come up with another victory to get to the national championship game?
Well, the effort we put in, is we put in a lot of time and hours with each other, like building a family. So it's pretty much like we lost, for our little brothers, I would say, because we all wanted to bring it back home together. And I don't know, our younger brothers, like on our team, are just, we're going to help them get better as long as we're here in Louisville.
I mean, this team's always played hard, but the last about 8-10 games, it really came together and had a special bond that I haven't been a part of before. And like I said before, I'm just very proud to be on the team and just proud of all the guys and about the way everybody stepped up.
Second row down front.
Rick, Pete Thamel from the New York Times. I'm wondering if you could just comment on Miller. He hit the big three and had a few plays early in the second half that gave him that bump. It seems like a tip of the hat to a senior in the way he played out there.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing, Miller did make that, and we Wayne is just getting new to the system, and he should have been out on him, but you got to give them credit. The reason we were confident we could win this game was that if we could shoot a good percentage, we thought our pressure would work. But anytime you shoot a low percentage, you don't get it on enough to really wear down an opponent. And that's due to their defense. They're a great defensive team. Every time you come off a screen, they bang you. They know how to handle screens. They got a very mature ball club. Whoever wins the Kansas-Ohio State game is going to have to play a hell of a game to beat them.
Right-hand section on the front row.
Roger Rubin from the New York Daily News. First for Kyle and then for Rick. When the game is tied, do you believe at that point that, that's a young team, you guys are a seasoned team, and the pressure of the moment maybe can work for you?
Maybe in some other circumstances, possibly, but I mean, they don't play like freshmen. They just have maturity and just the way that they play about themselves. They carry themselves with confidence, and they're not shy or afraid of big moments like that. And they always step up and come through.
On the aisle, or correction, on the right-hand side of this right section.
Randy Kovitz, Kansas City Star. For any who wants to take this, the players and Rick, again, going back to that 49-49, all of a sudden Kid Gilchrist, who was invisible in the first half because of fouls, he kind of took it to the hoop, got a couple stuffs, got a couple free throws. Can you talk about the impact he made at that time when it was 49-49?
I didn't think his impact was as great as what you're making out to. And I love him. He's one of my favorite players in college basketball. But we wanted to do three things in this game: was control the backboard, take them out of transition. What they do in transition is you could have three guys back. It doesn't matter. They go in a straight line to the basket and they get to the foul line. We didn't want to put them to the line. We accomplished the second thing. The third thing we had to do is we had to score to get our press on, and we didn't accomplish that one. So it's, you expect. He's projected to be the number 2 or 3 player in the draft. You expect him to make some good plays, but I don't think he was Anthony Davis or Miller's shot. I think that our guys did a very good job on him, but he's a great player, and I love him.
toward the back by the pillar.
You know, this young man had 19 rebounds against us last time, and he didn't have an offensive rebound in the game. Now, there weren't that many because they shot such a high percentage, but he did have 4 rebounds, so, you know, it was a pretty good job.
Dick Gabriel, Big Blue Insider for Rick. You already referred to this, Coach, but you said whoever wins the next game is going to have to play a hell of a game. In general terms, whoever beats Kentucky, what are they going to have to do if they can beat them?
Well, I think a little bit at the end, you've got to get the shot blocker. What they do is, if you run a pick and roll, he stays in the lane. You've got to get your people to seal him and bother him and duck in on him, then overpower him. And Gorky is not at that stage yet to do that. You saw it early in the game. He bailed out of a couple of nice jump hooks, but he's just learning, and he's going to get to that stage. Now, are they beatable? No question about it, because Vanderbilt did it. But you're going to have to play great offense, great defense, and you got to bring your A-plus game, and they have to have a B game. That's what it has to have, because they're a great ball club. You got to get 1 or 2 guys in foul trouble. But, you know, Kansas and Ohio State are capable of having an A-plus game, and so will we. We just didn't have it.
Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get a microphone to you. Anybody else? One on the aisle toward the back.
Coach, you're able to dominate the offensive glass, but not all those opportunities, second chance, were converted. Was that mostly Davis's doing?
Davis is doing what were you saying?
With his presence inside, you think the primary reason you weren't able to get all those second chance opportunities in?
Well, you can get second chance opportunities against shot blockers, because when he goes, he's going to leave his man. But then you've got to either throw it out and get an easy shot, or you got to finish. And we didn't finish inside. We kept missing inside. But sometimes when you go against a shot blocker, there's a lot of offensive opportunities to rebound.
Time for one more. Okay. Thank you, guys.
We really appreciate your coverage, guys. Thank you.